My name is Letolo, Nelson Makamo. Because of my work, I'm known as Nelson Makamo. I'm an artist. I was born in Limpopo, a small town called Modimolle. Where I was born, I used to play barefoot. I used to play in the mud. Half of the time, I was half naked. Flip that, and those are the images that you find online when you actually Google an African child. Today you won't find a lot of them because our work push those narratives away. The art industry in South Africa is so small. So anything that is so small, that means at some point, you're gonna run it over and over and over and over and over. You have to leave at some point. You need to go to territories where people will judge your work from an honest point of view. They will judge it. They don't know anything about you. And this was one of the typical examples that I even said it when I had a show in the Netherlands. When this old lady's like, why are they so sad? I'm like, you're only saying that because you read from my background that I'm from Africa. Because anything that is coming from that continent, it has to actually represent sadness. Spend time and look at my work. And then tell me after. Don't just walk in and you already concluded that where we come from, there's sadness, and there isn't. I will have a voice, it will be to unite and to actually create a division. And if I were to relate myself, I'll relate myself in a sense of a community than in a sense of me having to focus on me. I believe this is like we all born equal. It's just we're born in different environments. Every child is born a genius because they are able to, within that environment, they are able to turn it into something. So that is when I was like, every portrait of every child, I'm gonna add glasses to show how intelligent that child is and how they look at the world. It also makes you appreciate where you come from more than anything else. Because your world, it starts with less materials. It starts with you first before anything else. And I think the idea that we have to be different, and that's what's gonna make us humans. Out of all the people, I think there's one person that I'd have to say thank you first before anything, I think. So as much as I'm an artist and I sometimes create things, but there's people who do simple things that also amaze me as well. And my mother's one of those people. Home has been many places. I used to think Limpopo, it was a home, but I think any place that you just feel like you can express yourself freely without actually feeling limited. I think after high school, there was a place where I wanted to pursue my career. And then it started as a place where you go and study, but eventually it becomes a home for you. So I think a lot of things, because of the culture that Joburg has always given to us, he always seems to build everything around Johannesburg than the place where you were born. What has probably made me the artist that I am, it was Joburg, because of what Joburg culture has sort of pushed me to believe this is what it takes to be an artist of my caliber. Any Limpopo and Gauteng, that South Africa will always have this place in my heart that I don't know why, but it will always be like that. It's a home. Home is a place that always offer us a certain security. this building was mainly, it was a collective movement that led into us having to acquire this building, because we wanted to build an academy, music, fashion, and art. It was something that we felt that was needed. I have learned that even within the umbrella of our company, I've learned to work with others and to trust the process of having to have a collective movement. No matter how brilliant you are or how creative you are, it always takes a supportive structure to build what you want to build. I think that like the project as a whole, it is a complete different project. My approach, it was me in the beginning, but then it's like what has made my journey to be the way it is it was like a community of a whole lot of different people. In an African proverb, they say it takes a village to raise a child, to make the child aware that your existence is not just only a blessing to your family, but it's a blessing to a whole lot of community as a whole as well. Probably the main subject that is used is just, it's a figure of any human, and it's not a figure of a certain specific human. So any person can find themselves within that. As an artist, when you get an opportunity like that to have a moment to write a story about your life, in what language will you use? Will you use the language only you understand, or would you use a language that will allow others to become part of your celebration as well? And I think that was also the other thing that has made the whole process to be special. And the first chapter, it was the Pampa. And I think that is why you can say that I've worked a lot of it. It was an intro. Normally the intro in the norm world is that they keep it as short as possible because it's an introduction so that people never get bored. But I kept the intro long, and everything that accompanying it, I actually kept it as short as possible. The first thing I thought about it more than anything else is when someone follows you, this is the only thing that they see first before they see you. It's almost like you're welcome. But the way I also created it is that it does have a perspective. And that perspective, it means the journey is still more than anything else. It's enjoyable because there's a collective movement that is there. In anything that we do in life, is the first thing is the landscape. The landscape can be inviting. Scenery it's the reason why a lot of time we travel. And that's one thing that also inspired the Pampa, the scenery. The life as a journey has a lot of beautiful things that are accompanying it as well. And those things is culture, it's race, it's politics, So I looked at every element that defines us as humans. And why did I do that? That every person will have the opportunity to look at up close and personal with the work. It should amaze them to feel that they are part of something without them even to ask questions of what were you thinking when you did this? Nature is abstract, and in a way that us as humans understand it. And I wanted to bring that. Humans, when they are together as a collective, is an abstract. But that abstract is also depends on the type of energy that actually brings it. You look at an abstract piece when you look at a crowd that is in a stadium. They're not just only there, they're also chanting because maybe there's a football match. Then you have also a crowd of people marching, so for me, I wanted to bring that energy, but I wanted to create poetry in motion. A lot of my work I don't pre-plan. I don't think if I worked on sketches to plan it, it was gonna give us what we got. A lot of ideas that end up becoming in the work, they were not ideas that were conceptualized. Everyone who came in to be part of this project, their voices find themselves within the work as well, and it was not something that was planned. So I just looked at it and say it's a community that makes me the person that I am. If you were to look at the image in the mirrors, the way I've put them as a collective, they're completely different from the one from the Pampa. I had to look at the technique. The technique that was used, it's what often separates us as artists. Our brush stroke are not the same. The mirrors look like the work's floating. The details that are there, that sometimes even I, as the person who did the work, they still amaze me. There's a lot of exciting, unexpected things that popped out. But I guess that's what maybe defines a journey. When you're on a journey, you'll never know what you'll find, what it will do to you. So every part is connecting to the bamba. It's coming back the intro as well. Does it have an ending? A journey doesn't. We just have stops along the way. If you were to look at my choice of color, there were not really specifically certain colors that you find almost every representation of every color. That was one thing that I also wanted not to shy away from. To say that I will use as many dimensional colors as possible. So I knew that because of the base of the foundation color is black, it's time to introduce and bring a certain spectrum of colors that is unusual. You should bring like reddish pink. So that, if you were to look at it, it's landscape. Usually before dawn or after dawn, the sky will give you a pinkish feel to the landscape. It will touch that. Imagine that pinkish feel with a bit of touch of green, with a bit of touch of gold from the sun. It will obviously give you that unusual pink. The most difficult question is why? Because we imitate life and life imitates us. So it's never been, okay, the reason why I'm using yellow. Sometimes a moment can inspire you. Sometimes a mood can actually come up and you just feel like yellow is the right color to use for me to express my mood as well. It's always amazing when you say, I'm doing a road trip. You hardly do it alone. Because some of the things that you're gonna see along the way, at some point on the journey, you feel like you're alone. Because the scenery just play tricks with your mind and allow you to. At some point, you're looking at and you're passing figures like they are standstill, figures like they are audience that are watching you. So the group that I've actually put in, it's almost, you'll always have audience, almost like you're a performer. Jump into the other side. It's another person who's looking at the people that are also looking at, and it's a landscape that connects. And within that landscape, you're also saying, but there's also future generation, because there's a woman also carrying a child as well. And when you look at the landscape says the journey is not ending. We are continuing. We are forever on the move. But what makes it even worth a while is the fact that we are spectators to each other. When they talk about poetry in motion, you always try to understand what is poetry in motion. Poetry in motion is the works that are there that you actually, out of the whole entire body of work, you find that is what reflects and speaks to you, and that is probably where you see you more than anything else. If you're to look at the green, it's not a color that most people will pick to start a work with. Green and red, that is why they've given us, it's a certain mood that you actually get of the green. So the names for me, it was, but these are people that are part of my life. They will always be part of this car, however ways that I can think of. And maybe the best thing is, let me not tattoo them into my car. Let me find another way of appreciating. Let me not actually spoil everything by being that personal. I shifted away from mine, but rather us. It was to every mothers out there, is that we are superheroes. We are where we are because you also contributed, and that's why I just said, I love you, Ma. Ma is mother. Doesn't matter what language you use, any person actually understands that as well. And every person who exists, they have a mother. I wish I was good with words. I was going to find the words to say this is how I felt. And the most beautiful surprise, because I hate surprises. It's a treat that if it was a meal, I was going to eat it, finish it, and ask more and more and more and more and more. Even though Porsche is German, people who are driving it is multiple dimensional people. So you also start saying, I can relate with the brand, because though I'm an African in everything that I do and that I speak, but somehow my work reflects far more beyond. every time when I look at that car, it always reminded me what a joy it brought. It's interesting that a brand can come into your space and be able to make you see the other side of you that you don't often get to see. I was once a child who never even imagined that one day they will come back with a spaceship. It was important for me to drive it also to the place that I grew up when I was like, the township is probably the place that knows me better than the town, because that's where I did a lot of things. That's also where my journey started. And for me, it was not to drive there to show them how successful I am. It was not that. It was just for me to drive them to show how much that place has inspired me, and I wanted to come back and inspire it back. That's something I always say to people, like, is that not every day people need money. Sometimes all you need to do is to show them something beautiful. It'll always be a joy to know that she was also there to witness it. This is as far as we've come along, and it still take us back to the journey again. It's mother. It'll always be beautiful.